No more CC on the Gizmo, so he's not going to need to. The mage being pressured very hard in the center of the map right now. Jimmy Powder has to answer it with the Avenging Wrath. You should be able to top him with that. We're at 30% dampening now, though, and I feel like they can actually kill Alpro. There's the full Hodge on the Alpro. There's the Ice Novas. He's locked out. He couldn't skin until 90,000 HP. Gizmo throws the healing stream down, and Alpro going for the Cyclones onto the mage, going to be locking him up and denying the heals from Jimmy Powder. So really good Cyclone there from Alpro. Half bash onto a Skitch. They're trying to turn the pressure around, but the mage still has 2 blocks now. He should be fine. Alpro gets locked out on that cycle and doesn't have Barkskin available. Gizmo going for the Dispel, though, trying to get these Aura Mastery heals. Going to be able to top him. Alpro going for the cycle onto a Skitch. The Stampeding Roar there, but he gets hodged up in bear form. It's going to be fine. Deep Freeze onto Gizmo. They really need to stop this Polymorph, but they don't manage to do it. Gizmo has no Trinket. Alpro with no Barkskin. This is the opportunity they need. They need to continue this CC if they want to win this game. There's the half Polymorph. They really need a cycle and a Solar Beam, anything. Holy cow, Alpro answering, though, with counter pressure onto the mage here, dipping him to 100,000 HP. There's the bash on the Gizmo. A Skitch gets Solar Beamed on his Cyclone, though, denying that CC chain onto Gizmo, and now that opportunity is lost for the Mage Moonkin Paladin here as they do fall more and more behind, I feel, to this LSD2 pressure. The Haunt connects onto the mage here. He should just answer this with a block, I feel. There, he gets cloned up, low HP. A Skitch as well, rotting to half HP. He's got the Vigil up, though. It's going to be granting him a lot more extra healing, but with dampening at 40%, what can Jimmy do? He has to bubble just to be able to cast heals. There's the bash onto a Skitch, saved by the light procs. The mage is rotting as well to 90,000 HP. There's a Hodge onto Alpro, but he has Barkskin. Gizmo has his Trinket. How can they recover? Ascendance available as well for Gizmo. Avenging Wrath coming out from Jimmy Powder, and this mage needs to block. That's a ton of damage, and he's being greedy as well. Activates the Amplify Magic, rebuffs as well to try and protect his Paladin Sacred Shields. He gets locked out, though, on that Frostbolt, as well as trading his Counterspell back to Swapsy's UA. Swapsy's into the clone. Jimmy Powder taking a bunch of damage, though, and from that bubble that he had to use earlier, maybe they can punish him. There's the Hodge onto Alpro. There's the Deep onto Gizmo. The Ring of Frost does connect onto Gizmo as well as Alpro. Swapsy getting locked out on the Fear. Good CC right here towards the end of this game. Alpro dipping to about half HP. Activates the Nature's Vigil for some extra healing. There's that Bear Root Solar Beam, though, onto Gizmo. He's not getting out of it. He's going to get out of it just in time because of that bash from Alpro onto a Skitch. Now a Skitch going for the Cyclone. Full Clone lands. Alpro has Barkskin, but he got locked out. He can't use it. Ice Nova comes crashing in. Star Surge is flying. Frozen Orb comes out. Gizmo drops the Spirit Link immediately to answer that cooldown rotation, but Jimmy Powder's tapped. Dark Soul from Swapsy. Can they close the game? The mage is just going to use his Ice Block Cold Snap to help Jimmy Powder, who's trying to go for a drink. He has to get it. He's sat down right now. Can Swapsy send his pet in? No, he's going to Shadow Fear. Skitch is going to go down almost here. 40,000 HP. Barkskin up. The Healing Touch is coming out. Can he save him? He's rotting so hard. The mage even going for invisibility at this point to avoid whatever he can. There's the full Hodge, though, onto Alpro. He's got Barkskin immediately. No greed this time around. He knows his team has this game in the bag. They just need to push it over. Almost 50% dampening. Skitch at half HP. Jimmy Powder with the Avenging Wrath, but he's tapped on mana. The mage rotting as well, trying to kill the healing stream. He does manage to snipe it, but there's just no pressure. Alpro going in for the Star Surge, Starfire combo. So much damage onto the mage here. 60,000 HP saved by the light procs. Avenging Wrath lasting for about 10 more seconds, so he's got a few more seconds of saving grace here. Root Beam onto Jimmy Powder. That's going to break to damage. A Skitch could go down. 50,000 HP. Jimmy Powder does break out of the fear, though. He's trying to save a Skitch desperately here, but this mage is getting chunked. 30,000 HP. Can he go for the poly at this point? He has to block. He is playing Regenerative Ice Block, I believe, so it is healing him temporarily, but how do you come back from this? The mage into a bash. He's going to blink out of that. He gets locked on the poly. Hodge onto Alpro. This looks so over. Triple Shadow Fury. Is this a triple kill coming in here? Full Clone onto Swaps. The Unbound Wills into the full poly. Gizmo's not dispelling it, though. He does manage to finally get out of that poly. Barkskin instantly onto Alpro. 50,000 HP on the entire team. Bubble comes out. There's no way a Skitch. I'm sorry. 27,000. Man, the Live Lord himself. 50,000 HP. Jimmy Powder comes out of the bubble, keeping his team alive even longer. 55% dampening, so low. How do you survive? That's it. Really well played, though, considering the comp matchup here. I'm excited to see the next game.
Yeah, man, for sure. I really like those Bear Root beams by Askush, and also the root on the pet. He really plays a lot with that Wild Judge Bear Root. He loves that talent. Also, I have to say, like, I think I kind of like the strategy to always deep the Shaman, Hodge the Moonkin, and try to go for him first enough and kill him. But then I really miss those shaman swaps, dude. When the shaman has no trinket, if they forced it by going moonkin, I really think they can just swap on the shaman with no trinket and just kill him. They can stun him, they can restun him, they can beam him off, they can keep him in place and one shot him with those ice novas. I really think they should try to kill the shaman when he has no trinket. That's kind of what I missed. But then on the other hand, they did really good at living the mage moonkin team, and it went really deep into dampening, obviously, as you predicted, because of the spell steals, the flame glow, and the spammable CC just being thrown out. The dampening was almost 60%, and that was pretty rough.
Yeah. I mean, the only real criticism I could give is just more polymorphs on the swap, see if they're going to commit to that strategy of trying to kill Alpro. I felt like he was allowed to do more or less what he wanted. I mean, there were really good counter spells onto the UAs. I think he locked him out like almost probably 8 times total, maybe the times that I even missed. So the mage is definitely doing a great job, always landing that counter spell almost on cooldown. That was locking the damage down a lot early on, but I feel like lock him out, then put him in the poly, punish him more, right? Just he's playing so aggressive
Yeah.
because he's not the target. Just a little bit more CC, just that tiny little bit better. In a comp matchup where you're at the disadvantage, you really have to play perfect. There's no room for error, and I don't necessarily think there were any big mistakes. It was just they got shut down on some of their CC attempts when they went for it, and they
I don't
weren't
think
able to
so either.
get. Yeah, I couldn't name a lot of mistakes. Like in reality, the only real mistake I saw that game was Gizmo being greedy. He did get the link trinket link off, but like I was just like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, nah, like your
Yeah,
team's
that's
gonna
something
win.
like
Come on,
he
man.
might as well just have died, you know? And then,
Yeah,
like, how does it feel when you die when you actually just won the game?
yeah.
It's so bad.
That's the
Um,
only real questionable play, I
but
think.
yeah, as I said, the mage was really good at CSing. He also locked the Moonkin ones when they went, so he couldn't skin, and that actually forced the link. Good link by Gizmo, though, that he realized that Moonkin can't skin. So
Yeah.
that was good that he got that off. He might have actually just died.
Yeah, that was a good, like I'm saying, like the counter spells were definitely the highlight for that game. Constantly, like if they can get Alpro locked out in a full hodge, he might die. I mean, he almost died. He had to trinket link. So if they can get that more than once in the game, like that's 15 minutes. I feel like you can get that opportunity more than once if you really go for it.
Yeah.
But again, when you're in a comp matchup where your comp's at a disadvantage, it's kind of hard. Just letting one team know that a skitch needs a little bit longer here. We're going to be playing Tolvaron. All right, they do pick Tolvaron Arena. I still feel like if they pick Tolvaron Arena, I don't think they're going to commit to Gizmo. That tells me that they're going to be committed to Alpro.
Probably. I mean, they did the last game. It kind of worked. They forced pretty much everything at some point, but then they couldn't finish because the LSD2 just realized that they do the same over and over again. And then if you know exactly what they're going to do and exactly at which time, because they have some timers or just track it on their own, if they know they have deep freeze ready, hot ready, they know they're going to go for the kill, then the Moonkin can just kite, he can displace their way, the Waller can push in for the fear, they can save their CSs, even beams, just to stop the CC. And if they stop one CC, it's already over for the
Yep.
Moonkin Mage. They need every single second of CC to actually score a kill.
Yep, that is true. Like there was one point there where the solar beam was landed from a skitch, and he went for the clone, but he got bashed on it. If he didn't get bashed, that clone landed. That might have been a kill. But if you stop that one CC, suddenly you can just top your team. Like Resto Shamans have that capability to just burst heal like that if they're not locked down.
Yeah.
So
You just get it full HP instantly.
yeah. All right, let's see what happens though. No real aggressive plays onto the gateway this game either. He's just going to get that for free. He wants to save the counterspell for damage here. Throwing out some very early spell seals. He does get locked out on the Frostbolt, so that means he can push in for a Polymorph for free, but Swapsy is playing that sack pet, so he can sack a Sheep Swapsy. It does get dispelled out, though, by Gizmo. There's the Deep Freeze Ring of Frost coming down, but he bashes it. He's going to trinket it, try and go for that Polymorph, but he got Solar Beamed on it, and that's the kind of shutdown that I'm talking about. This mage just isn't going to accomplish anything because of that. Now the clone onto a Skitch. They're swapping over to Jimmy Powder. They force his Shield Wall. They pushed in for that aggressive play and didn't get the CC, so now they're getting punished. They're going to fall behind. He has to use his Avenging Wrath to pick his team up. This is an insane amount of burst coming from this LSD2 very early in this game. The Root Solar Beam onto Gizmo with that Bear from he's stuck in it for a little bit. He's kind of dancing around in it for a little bit too long, maybe lagging out a little bit there. He's going to be able to get out of it, though. Swapsy with the Dark Soul. He gets locked on that Haunt, though. Skitch as well gets locked out on that Clone. Now Swapsy going out for the full rows of dots on everyone, and Skitch answers that immediately with his Nature's Vigil. So that's a really well-timed Vigil. Half Clone onto Gizmo, Hodge onto Owl Pro. He doesn't have the Bark Skin, but there's no more CC onto Gizmo, and he's just going to keep him topped unless it continually change. Nice cross CC there. They are going to break the Hex on the Mage, unfortunately, but that was a good Clone Hex cross CC. The Mage going for a counterspell. Not going to land it, though. DR clone onto the mage here, just trying to crowd control it, drag it out to the late game, because in reality, the LSD2 doesn't need to play offensive. As long as Gizmo and Alpro play as a unit, play together, use the bash, use the solar beam to stop the CC, they're never going to die. And he does get hodged here out of Moonkin form, and he should be playing that stamina glyph to get more health. So he's got a little bit reduced health, but there's no CC on the Gizmo, and they need to get it. And Alpro goes for the clone of the mage. He's going to land that. I really think that this mage should maybe ice block CC. Play overly aggressive. He doesn't seem to be the kill target. He didn't even have to use a block for like 10 minutes into the last game. Maybe he just needs to kind of go for it, press the trigger, play maybe that ice block glyph and get the CC, because look, he just got shut down on another Deep Freeze Polymorph. They have to use the Root Solar Beam, but Alpro stampeding roars Gizmo out of that immediately. Good teamwork between Gizmo and Alpro, and again, they're just functioning as a unit. Both of them, as long as they're playing well together, don't overlap the cooldowns, are aware of the situation. I don't see them dying anytime. Solar Beam coming down there onto the Mage Moonkin Paladin, not really accomplishing too much, though, and Avenging Wrath is up. There's finally the full Polymorph. Is the Hodge available is the question. There's the full Hodge on the Alpro. Answers that immediately with the Bark Skin while Gizmo is CC'd. Healing Tide gets dropped down before the clone. Skitch is trying to kill it desperately, but it's got so much HP. He does manage to finally kill it. The Bark Skin is fading as they swap over to Swapsy while that Bark Skin was active, and Alpro has that Vigil up to heal as well. There's the Dark Soul Haunt coming out, though. It's not doing too much damage just yet, and the Dark Soul is going to fade as he gets cloned towards the end of it. That's the CC they need on Swapsy. He's going to unbound Will out of that, though. And now a full clone onto Jimmy Powder. He has his trinket, but he's choosing to sit it with the bash on the Alpro with a full poly on a Gizmo. This is what they need, but there's no damage. They finally got the setup. No skin, but they didn't even force a trinket, and that's horrible for them in this situation. He has to bop a Skitch there now, try and get him out of that bash. So good bop from Jimmy Powder there, but the LSD2 has loaded up the entire team at this point, and a clone onto a Skitch to deny any extra off healing, any CC. The mage is starting to rot a little bit here to 100,000 HP. He does land a CS onto the clone of Alpro, though. Locking that out is important to allow Jimmy Powder the time to recover, and now there's the Hodge onto Alpro. They need some CC. There's the clone onto Swapsy. That was the Ore Master, I believe, as well. Denounce coming into Alpro as well. But again, that's just the Bark Skin. They don't force a trinket. Gizmo and Alpro are glued to each other right now. They're not going to ever overlap. There's the Root Beam onto Gizmo, as well as the Bear Root, just in case the Root breaks to some damage. Possibly a bash out of that. Maybe a Cyclone. It puts the grounding down to try and avoid some CC. No bash just yet from a Skitch, but Jimmy Powder actually choosing to bubble, activate the Avenging Wrath, trying to save the ice block for his mage here, and he's going to be able to. Tops his entire team off here in just a second with that Avenging Wrath. There's the Hodge on Gizmo. There's the swap that Botar was talking about. Swapping over to Gizmo. DR Deep Freeze. He does have his trinket. Nature's Guardian procs. Alpro's trying to counter aggression, though. Solar Beam onto a Skitch, locking the Wrath out. Gizmo has survived that swap without using his trinket, but I like the experimentation with the Moonkin Mage, trying to try out some different targets, realizing that Alpro wasn't really getting them anywhere, swapping over to Gizmo. So let's see if they do that again here, moving into later stages of the game. Dampening starting in about 28 seconds. Alpro into that full Cyclone, while Swapsy has his Dark Soul, so they're not going to be able to coordinate that damage. Good Polymorph on the Dark Soul as well. It's going to be Dispelled. He portals back to avoid any more CC, but the Mage is pursuing after him. They're actually going over after Swapsy, it would seem. That was an Ice Nova used onto him. Full bash onto him. He doesn't have a trinket available. Maybe they're trying to punish the over-aggressive trinket trinkets from the Warlock here, but I don't think they're going to be able to. Triple Shadow Fury lands. That's going to be an immense amount of damage for Jimmy Powder to heal through. Thankfully, a Skitch has his Nature's Vigil to kind of give him that boost of AoE healing, and he's dispelling the Curse of Agonies as well, probably around the 10 stack. So good awareness from a Skitch to be using that decurse like that. It's going to put Swapsy behind on dots when those Agonies constantly get dispelled. There's the sacrifice onto the mage from Jimmy Powder. He's going to dispel the UA as well. The Holy Paladin has recovered. He has a reasonable amount of mana moving into dampening. I really feel he needs to get a drink if they're not going to push for an aggressive kill. Alpro with no trinket is an opening for them. They could clone him, go onto Gizmo, try and get a kill. Maybe he plays greedy, doesn't get trinket off, or doesn't get the trinket link off. But Swapsy into the Cyclone. He's going to unbound Will out of that instantly. No more CC follow-up just yet. There's the Haunt coming. It's going to connect, but not a lot of damage resulting either way. There's no Dark Soul for him, so it's not a lot of damage. Bash onto a Skitch, bopped immediately from Jimmy Powder. Good timed bops. Swapsy's just going to gateway across the map. They realize that they win in the late game. Why play aggressive? Why stand on top of them? Just play defense. Keep Alpro and Gizmo together. Stop the CC. Off heal a little bit. They are pressuring Swapsy though. They did lock him out on the fear. There's the root beam on the Gizmo. Stampeding Roar again from Alpro, getting Gizmo out of that. He's going to drop the healing tile, but it gets sniped instantly by a Skitch with that Starfire, and he lands the full clone onto Gizmo. They're trying to pressure Swapsy, but they just can't do any damage. They're not even getting Dark Reach in after that amazing CC chain, and Jimmy Powder has to use his Avenging Wrath once again to top his team off. Deep Freeze onto Gizmo, Hodge onto Alpro. They're committing to him. He's going to Bark Skin. Was a little bit late here reasonably. Activates the dash, gets back to Gizmo, gonna team up behind the pillar here and shoot some Star Surges into the mage here. Critium fairly big, but that's the Aura Mastery. Gonna get the Cyclone into Alpro with that Aura Mastery. And Swapsy did get locked out on a Haunt there, so good play from the Mage Moonkin there, going for some Polymorphs as well. Not going to land them. Locked out on the Frostbolt as well. Starfire being thrown out. He's going to get cloned up though by Alpro, and Gizmo's mana is sitting fairly low, and Jimmy Powder's getting a drink in the background of all this. That's the drink that he needed to get. He's coming in with a rebuff, going to be doing some more damage as a result of that. Alpro playing defensively with Gizmo though, waiting for that dampening to stack, waiting for the late game, because they're not going to accomplish too much early on outside of some really big Star Surge crits. Swapsy gets locked out on that UA with his Dark Soul, putting him further behind, but he's going to get the Haunt out after that lockout onto Jimmy Powder, who doesn't have his bubble available. He pops the wall, he gets to the pillar, he's going to dispel somebody else's dots there, and he's kind of vulnerable. He has his own pillar back here. He's going to get some heals off, not getting locked out on anything here. Skitch going for some Cyclones, does land it onto Gizmo. They're doing a bit of damage to Swapsy here with the Frozen Orb, but not too much just yet. The Haunts come out onto a Skitch, a Solar Beam onto Jimmy Powder. It did lock him out, and he has to pull out, but as he pulls out, a Skitch is so far in, he needs to come back. He's going to go for some Cyclones. He lands onto Swapsy, but he gets Cycloned himself to stop the Cyclone chain. The Mage is dipping pretty low here. Jimmy Powder has to pop the Avenging Wrath, Stampeding Roar from a Skitch to try and reorganize themselves on the other side of the map as Gizmo and Swapsy gate to the other side. Fierce coming out onto a Skitch. Gizmo going for a drink now as well. If he gets this drink off, it might be the end. He's gotten back up to 60,000 mana, going for the drink once again. He dodges the Hurricane of a Skitch, but a Skitch finally does manage to stop the drink there, saving him at about 60%, but he had to push so aggressive. He took so much damage just to stop that drink. Now the Save by the Light procs, he has to use the Nature's Vigil. It looks kind of dire at this point as full dots kind of get loaded up from Swapsy here. He's not getting locked out just yet. There's the full Hodge and the Gizmo though. Maybe a potential swap here. It doesn't look like it just yet. Committing more to Swapsy, but nobody's getting chunked. Nobody's taking an amazing amount of damage just yet. So what can they do? I don't think Gizmo has trinketed the whole game, and they need it. They need to get through some cooldowns. There's the Root Solar Beam onto Gizmo. Stampeding Roar once again from Alpro. Gizmo and Alpro playing together really well this game. Clone onto Gizmo. A Skitch taking a bit of damage here with a clone onto the Mage. The Solar Beam onto the Holy Paladin did not lock him out. It's going to break to damage. He's going to come out, instantly heal his team. Alpro taking a bunch of damage. Did get locked out on that clone. It wasn't able to Bark Skin, but that Displacer Beast. Trinket from Gizmo. Ascendance pops. He's going to recover. Hodge into Swapsy. Trying to swap to him, but he's just not taking any damage. He can kind of just tank them. Stand in the center of the map. The Haunts come out onto the Mage, who's going to blink back defensively, but it's been almost 10 minutes. This Mage hasn't ice blocked once. I feel like he should just ice block a clone, ice block offensively, ice block to get the poly, get the CC chain that he needs to get, guarantee it with the block, because he's not using it anyway defensively. So Blazing Speed comes out. He throws the Blizzard to stop the drink. He does manage to snipe the drink this time, unlike last game where Gizmo did manage to drink to full mana. But Alpro and Gizmo are positioned so well defensively, and they're throwing so much damage to his Skitch, as well as the Mage, who is decursing the Agony. That's another thing we didn't know. Both of them can dispel Agony, so Swapsy's damage can get mitigated quite a lot, which is why this game gets dragged out so long. The Mage blinks in for that Deep Freeze. Does he get stopped in the ring? Nice bash. He's not going to get out of it. There's the bot from Jimmy Powder. Hodge onto Al Pro. He does get dispelled, though, by Gizmo, and the Bark Skin was used. Now the entire Mage Moon and Paladin team's getting punished for their aggressive push in. Icy Veins is fading on the Mage. Starfire's come crashing in on him. Avenging Wrath is up. He's actually going for Denounces with it. He's trying to participate any damage he can, but the Solar Beam comes down on a Gizmo. He's going to sit that, not getting Stampeding Roared out of this one. It's not available for 29 seconds. Let's see if they can continue the CC chain. There's the bash. Swapsy gets locked out on the Fear. Seems like they're committed to him. No CC just yet on the Gizmo. Throws the grounding down. Skitch did get locked on that Wrath, so he wasn't able to throw out the Cyclone that he needed to get on Gizmo out of that bash. There's the Deep Freeze, Blink, Blazing Speed in. The Polymorph is going to land, but it's overlapped with the Clone. Maybe it won't matter. Swapsy dipping to about half HP. He gets locked up at the same time as Skitch is getting pressured so hard while he pushes in. Shadow Fury connects. That's it. LSD2 gonna take it. And man, just what can they do?
This Moonkin actually just got one shot so hard. I bet the Urfro got hit by something.
Oh man.
That was sick. But I have to say, the LSD2 did really good at stopping the CC from the Mage, although, as you said, he should have probably just played with the offensive Ice Block lift to get that CC. Because they really just saved everything to stop his polymorphs. I mean, the Pally even popped Aura Mastery for them to get the polys, but it didn't matter, because they just had stuns and everything.
Yeah. I mean, they just Gizmo and Alpro just stuck together like a team the whole game, never played overly aggressive and separated themselves, and as long as they stayed together, they could almost always stop the CC together, while Swapsy was just kind of a damage bot turreting in the center of the map, and that's really what made them so tanky and able to secure the game. But that is the last series of the losers bracket, and PS Heroes Keep It Original RMP is going to be moving to the round of 10 next weekend, as well as Toxic Youth's LSD2. They're going to be moving to the round of 10 next weekend. We have finally gotten to the final stages of the tournament. We are going to be continuing next week. So shout out to ProGameX for hosting the tournament. Definitely hoping it's going to be a little bit better organized in the future, which there's always room for improvement for everything. Thank you to Botar for stopping by and helping me out, giving his insights. You have any shout-outs today? I know you didn't yesterday. Maybe your mom?
Well, today I got some shout-out for Ulfo, my man, my German man. It's nice to see him playing that actively again. He didn't play for a lot of time, at least not on a serious note, and it's really fun to see him back.
Yeah. All right. Thanks to Laguna for substituting as cameraman today. Our cameraman had his cat claw his face. He had to go to the hospital. He pulled his power cable out yesterday. It clawed his face up today. He's just not able to make it. So Laguna filling in, giving you guys the camera action. Thanks to him for doing that. But that is going to conclude the PvP action for today. Tune in next weekend at the same time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I believe 2000. Just check the website as well for those times to be confirmed. We will be continuing the round of 10. Can PS Heroes or Keep It Original as well as Toxic Youth bring it back in this losers bracket where they managed to snag the final 2 spots? Let's see if they can. But thank you to everyone for tuning in as well. We will move on next weekend. Thanks, everyone.